So just going to start the recording. There we go. So good morning and welcome to our Entrepreneur Coffee Break for November 22nd, 2022. My name is Carol Spicer and I'm the owner of Spicer Facilitation and Learning, and I'm joining you from the unceded territory of the ancient Beothuk, which is now known today as Pasadena. I ask that you take a moment to think about where you're joining us from and acknowledge with respect the diversity and the cultures and the traditions of all Indigenous people. Those in our province are the Innu, the Inuit, the Mi'kmaq, the Beothuk, and the Southern Labrador Inuit. So bonjour, hello, gwe, we've got everybody here. So I'm really pleased to welcome Sheldon into our session this morning, who's been very gracious to give some of his time today to talk all things email marketing, and hopefully we can work through a couple things on that. I see that a few of you have found the chat, so if you're able to get there, just say a quick hello. Let us know who you are, and this is your community. So those that have, I think almost all of you have been with me for quite some time on this. We started as a pilot with Navigate Small Business 2020, pre-pandemic. We did it for 3 months virtually, and then the pandemic hit and we continued on. Navigate has changed some of their priorities and focus. So I've lost their funding. So this one I'm sponsoring myself, and I do have a couple sponsors lined up for the next couple sessions. If you know somebody who's willing to or interested in sponsoring a coffee break, then feel free to let me know at another time. But I just didn't want this community to die. And I feel that we've made some really good strides in connections. And the fact that the sessions are recorded and people can join them in later, I often get emails saying, I just watched your last session, that was great. So I do want to continue this opportunity. So again, Teams is new. It's a little bit new to me, some of the new tools, but I'm going to try a poll with you at the moment, which I know some of you have answered this already in chat, but this should be a pop-up in front of you. Where are you joining us from today? So you could just put the community name in. St. John got split up somehow.
Won't submit, Carol. I got it typed in, but it won't submit.
You didn't, when you clicked submit, it did. It came up.
Oh, did it? Oh.
Yep.
It says
so if you go to chat, you might see on your screen, you should see in chat a little bit of a word bubble there. You can see where folks are joining us from today. Cool, that worked. Thank you. bit of my guinea pigs on that one, just to see how it worked. So I think because we do have a bit of a small group, and for Sheldon's benefit, I'm going to run down and ask you to do a little intro first and let us know well, we know where you are now. You've kind of said that, but you can let us know who's who. I'm going to run down alphabetically by first name because it works that Sheldon's then last. So Janice, if you want to introduce yourself to Sheldon, please.
Hi, Sheldon, and everyone who's joining us this morning. I'm Janice Evans. I'm one of the owners of The Roost in York Harbor. I'm joining you from Lark Harbor this morning because that's where I live and it's snowing, and The Roost is now on fall hours, so we're only open on weekends. We're a small gift shop and we have a website, and we do some sell some of our products online. So it's great to be here again, Carol.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome. So Murray next.
Hi there, this is Murray Sampson. I operate user-friendly website design here in Corner Brook. I've operated email newsletters in the past, but it's been quite a while, so I thought I'd learn a thing or two, update my understanding, as I'm mostly into website and user experience. And I can't remember, I think I am here from Corner Brook. And I've been back in the province or in the country for just over a year now after 14 years abroad. And I'm loving it, except for this week because I wasn't ready for winter.
Exactly. I just drove back from St. John's yesterday. I was telling a couple of ladies when I came on, we went through every possible weather storm. We had 110 gust winds on the Avalon, blowing snow through Doe Hills, clear at Goobies. I could actually see Goobies, which is normally foggy. We could see Goobies till Gander, streamers in Gander, bright sunshine past Grand Falls. It was just like nuts. And then snow flurries again in Howley. So I didn't care then. It could be a blizzard from Howley. I'm close to home. I can get home from there. So that was good. Excellent. Thank you. Samantha O'Brien. You want to say a quick hello? You're on mute.
I always forget that.
That's okay.
I'm Samantha O'Brien. I'm actually manager of commercial services at Atlantic Edge Credit Union. I'm based out of the Deer Lake branch, but we actually have branches all along the West Coast and on up into Labrador. So we're kind of spread out that way.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Sharon.
Good morning. I'm in snowy Pasadena. I own and operate Siva Meditation, so I teach meditation, and I'm here this morning getting ready for my classes, my 4-part series on chakras. So I'm doing some energy work with a group. It's been my biggest group yet that have registered. So the meditation is moving, and people it's gaining momentum. People are seeing the value in it, and I'm happy that Sheldon's here this morning. Thanks.
Hi, Sharon.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah.
Thank you. So I got a little story about Sheldon and Sharon. We were in St. John's the end of October, and Sharon happened to randomly run into Sheldon at a hotel where he was at one event. We were at a different event, and then she comes running out to my car about 20 minutes later. I just jumped on a podcast. So what are you talking about? She had just met Sheldon in the lobby of a hotel in St. John's. So it's just the way things work. So I do want to say welcome to Sheldon. And Sheldon, I'll give you a moment to introduce yourself a little bit further to everyone that's on the call. But I did prepare another poll, Sheldon, that I'm hoping helps you. So let me just launch this one. And it is, do you currently have an email newsletter? We've got 50% yes, 25% no, and 25% considering it. So I'd say that gives you a good view, Sheldon, of who we got here today.
Yep.
So did you want to share any slides or anything? Or are you just going to chat, introduce yourself? You tell me what you need.
Well, I guess there's two ways for us to approach this. One is, I do have some slides prepared that we can run through. But what we could also do is, I think with the group being the size that it is, it'd be, I can jump into a slide if we need to, but also just to run through. I think I like having open discussion as opposed to, which I'm sure many of you have done, just being on Zoom and me being a talking head for 30 minutes. So we can run through, and I think I'd like to be able to hear, I guess, maybe some of the reasons of what you're currently doing, what you could do for those of you who don't have one or those who are considering it, what's probably holding you back. And then, if needed, I can just show some of the things that are on the slides and for things to consider.
Okay.
Based on what, just the introductions that I had that you've all presented, I think there's opportunities for everyone in email. I would suspect right now we're probably at one of the highest points, or we will be at one of the highest points over the course of this week, being bombarded with Black Friday sales. And myself, like many of you, there's probably companies or places already that I'm just waiting for the Black Friday email to come out that will have the offer or something that I'm waiting to buy, or been waiting to buy, or my kids are wanting to buy for the last several months. And like, this is pretty much going to be the weekend that it's going to happen. And I think everybody has a Black Friday sale from what I've seen so far. So I should have one. I should put one on. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, now you got me thinking, could I do one?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I even like I have there's other coaches and consultants that I have in different circles that I know, and many of them are kind of putting on some of the consulting programs and coaching programs that they have with the Black Friday, for things to start in January, as an example. And then when I look across, like, everyone here has introduced themselves. I think there's opportunities for each of you to, again, while the time is short, it's only a couple of days, to be able to use email. It's such a powerful tool. It's what I call it. It's basically a tool that it's always underutilized because everyone is chasing after likes and follows from people on social networks that they may or may not know, who are may become someone who's going to be a part of your business and be a customer at some point. But typically when we talk about email, we've got people who already know, like, and trust you. Yet we don't send emails to them on a regular basis to communicate with them, to buy from you on a regular basis as well. So, so the number of things there, but I'd love to be able to have some discussion.
Mhm.
I'd also like to see some faces. As much as I love text, it's nice to be able to see some faces as well, and then have some open discussion in terms of, I guess maybe I can ask some questions. And then we can kind of begin to go through in terms of, I guess maybe one would be for those who don't have it. For those who don't have email, I'm kind of curious as to, I guess, like, what would be the reason why you don't have email. I have some suspicions and some things already, but I'd like to hear from everyone in terms of, like, who doesn't have email, like why you don't have it.
Okay. Well, I know I do, and Sharon does, and Janice, I think, does. So it must be Marae or Samantha.
And this is not to point anybody out. It's just
No, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
to guide them to that.
So, like, I know, like, Samantha, you mentioned that, obviously being with the credit union, like, it's probably bigger in terms of, like, the decision-making process, who gets an email, how active would you be, what would you send? Those would be some of the pieces.
So we do use chip mail for some, like a larger group, for all of our members, but so like I mentioned, I'm the manager of commercial services, so I run the commercial department. So as a individual from a commercial side of it, it is definitely not a tool that we utilize as often or as much as we should. So I'm kind of interested to have some information to go back to the larger picture and be like, hey, let's do it this way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a hand up.
Yep. Marae?
Hi, I'm the one who put in, I'm considering a newsletter, which is, well, more like I'm going to start one. I just haven't decided on which company to go with. I'm sort of leaning towards ConvertKit. And mostly this is about the fact that I haven't really had the time to properly research what, the difference is. And I know there are a million of them. I know there are a few big ones, but I'm not interested in MailChimp. I want something that I don't have to be a email marketer to run, because I spend my efforts on user experience and Webflow design, development.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess there's a number of different options, ConvertKit being one. Another consideration we want to look into would be MailerLite, would be another. That would be kind of an in-between MailChimp and ConvertKit. Those would be two that I would look at. Obviously, you also have, like, Constant Contact. That would be an option. Another one would be, like, GetResponse. But I guess like, what is it that when you're going through the process, typically what you want to look for would be, like, what are the features, how easy it is for me to use it. Price is also typically a factor. In most cases, like, I know with MailChimp as an example, like, you're free until you get to around 2,000 subscribers, and then you begin to, the process of paying from there. So I guess, like, what features are you looking for?
I haven't, and I think this is where I'm a little bit in the strategy stage. Like, I'm fairly early on in my business, and I don't want to just send out constant email blasts for the sake of it, because I'm a total newsletter junkie. I sign up for a million of them.
Okay.
But if somebody's spamming me, like, go away. I only want to hear from you when that's something that is useful. So this has mostly been, me holding back because I wasn't sure what I wanted to put out there. And what I'm finding is that I think I want to put resources out there for people in terms of understanding, different. I'm like I said, I'm a user experience person, and a lot of people don't know what that is. And I think that that's kind of what I want to educate people about a little bit,
Okay.
because they do understand a fair amount about website development. So I haven't entirely decided what features I want, other than I like my stuff easy to use because I have so many different tools I have to use, and they update like once a month or once every 3 months. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I have to relearn the tool all over again. So I like it being straightforward. So
No,
I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards ConvertKit because I've heard they're a little bit smoother in that respect.
no, that's all valid points. So last couple of questions there in terms of, so like, do you regularly post to social media?
No, I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm not a huge fan of social media. And one of the reasons why is, Elon Musk is proving a great point in that he's blowing Twitter up. But at any point, somebody can be shut out of their, or quit Twitter or any social media. And what happens is they don't have all of their followers' contact information, right? Once you're off, there's no, you can't contact someone from a different platform. Whereas on email, if you're on Hotmail and somebody else is on Gmail, you can converse. You don't have to be on the same platform. But with social media, you have to be on the same platform. So if something happens and you're cut off from your followers, it's like, well, what? You've lost the audience. Which is why, when I talk to people about, their use of social media, I always tell them, funnel people towards your email newsletter, funnel people towards your website, because that's when they're really your audience. Otherwise, they're the social media platform's audience. They're not yours.
No, absolutely. So yeah, it's
Interesting.
I like what you've mentioned so far, because some of the slides that I was going to mention would be, the benefits of email marketing. It's cost effective. You own it, which is what you mentioned. So everything that you have on the platform, you own. It also increases brand awareness. And people don't think of it that way, but you begin to show up in someone's inbox on a regular basis. So people begin to think of you being top of mind. It's really easy to share. So I think sometimes we often forget that email was probably one of the original social networks, but we kind of disregard it because we don't see it. So quite often I think of email as being like dark social in a sense, in that people are forwarding emails and sending material back and forth to each other. It's just that we don't see it in a public environment like we do when we're on social networks, which can be an opportunity, because it's one of those things that you're able to share to someone more privately. So therefore, depending on the content, it might be something that someone is really struggling with, or someone that needs help with a certain thing. One thing you mentioned as well, I think, which is a really nice case here for anyone who has a newsletter or is sharing one, is that the content that you share in a newsletter or an email marketing program does not have to be yours, right? So you can find content from another source, and you can share that content with other people. Like there's a couple of really popular emails, like two that I kind of shows up in my inbox every morning. One is called Morning Brew, which pretty much just gives me a quick rundown of what's happened in the world and news, and from their perspective in the last 24 hours. And then there's just kind of like a sub piece of that, which is another one called Marketing Brew, and that one is just basically anything that's happening from a marketing perspective. It could be trends, articles, just interesting facts that come in as well. So when you're creating a newsletter, it doesn't have to be you. The thing that's important to remember is that while it doesn't have to be you, you're the messenger. You're the one, it's your name that's showing up in someone's inbox. You're building trust with someone because it's showing that you're taking the time to find content and resources that you're sharing with people that you know. So those are all positive things. If you're thinking about starting a newsletter, or even currently have one, it might even be just changing maybe some of the formats.
When you talk about sharing, it just came to mind. I know I can forward emails, email newsletters. Can you text them from your email?
Yes. Yeah,
Excellent.
there's different options in terms that you can create for things to be text as well. Typically very similar to social. Like if I'm sharing something to a platform and sharing it from like email to email, Twitter to Twitter, LinkedIn to LinkedIn, from there. But then you can also take things. But email is the one, as you mentioned, like it's kind of like this one platform where it doesn't matter if you're on Hotmail, Gmail, Microsoft. People may have a Yahoo account, your own individual business accounts, which typically now are powered by Microsoft or Gmail as well. So like those are things that again they can be forwarded, and you get emails from people on a regular basis, and so they're good to have from there. So I guess another question I have would be, so the next part, once you've decided to have a newsletter, or for those of you who have one, there's a lot of similarities between social and email. It's just that you do them differently. So one of the things that a lot of people are consumed with when it comes to social, it's always about the growth. How do I grow my account? How do I reach, in Instagram land, it's the pinnacle of getting that 10,000 follower mark. But likewise, there's a similar, ideally you would have a similar approach to growth for a newsletter. So I'd be curious to hear from those of you who have one, like how are you currently doing two things? One, growing the newsletter, but two, is how are you taking people who are currently on your social platforms and bringing them into your newsletter environment?
I can answer the first part, and I can tell you the second part I'm not doing.
Okay.
But the first part, probably the easiest way that I'm growing is when people register for my event, I ask them if they want to sign up.
Okay.
So they've already come to me for something, and then I've given them the option, yes, sign me up, already subscribe, or no thanks. So at least, they're right in front of them. I do have a landing page on my website. I do have, I think, a sign up button on my Facebook, my business Facebook, but I'm not actively trying to take those social media platform followers and put them into email.
Okay. Sharon, I know you have an email list as well.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to
I
hear
was just
what
going to
you're
add,
doing.
I do want to incorporate because it's interesting what you just said about the Twitter and stuff too. Never thought that would even impact me, because when they crashed, before Facebook crashed, can you remember that? Where we were gone for, I don't know, a day or so, that the sky fell. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I never realized that it would impact me, I guess. Like I got a great MailChimp newsletter that goes out. I try to get one out once a month. But it's interesting how I get people, I guess, is they attend my sessions, or they find me on Facebook and they register, and then they automatically end up there in my contact list, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Sheldon, you and I sometimes talk about like the TikTok, because I'm noticing a lot of I haven't done anything on TikTok. I go in there sometimes and look for recipes. I got a good cookie recipe this morning there from TikTok, but like I noticed a lot of people are using that platform, and it's been, I don't know, is that a thing too? Could that's the same thing? That's a social media platform that can crash, right? But I don't know how else
Yeah.
to draw people to my MailChimp.
Yeah, so every platform, every social platform, really, you're using for free. You don't own it. You can lose your account instantly for no reason at all. So it's always important to have a strategy to bring people over. And and one thing that you could do is even just to add in every month, just an opportunity, like especially if you know that you have a regular cadence that you're going to be sending your email on the third Wednesday of every month, as an example, then maybe on the week before, you just drop a social media post letting know that email newsletters coming out here. Maybe even drop a teaser in terms of like what maybe something that's going to be in the email itself. And again, so it's just something that you would repeat. And it's just a process to get, if you're only doing one a month, and that's 12 times a year, that's 12 additional social posts from there that will go out to begin to attract people and bring people in. And you can do that across all the channels that you have as well. So there's that. Using your website is super important to make sure that
Yeah.
you have an opportunity for people who are visiting your website to join, to become a member of your newsletter from there, or your email marketing that you have. And if you have a physical, like if you have a physical presence, so a couple of things there would be sharing, like, at the studio, for example, you can have QR code to encourage people who come to, just scan the QR code and they would just go straight to your email. Like, so that would be an
I don't know what
opportunity.
I don't know what that is. I
So
see
it's
it.
like
I do it for restaurants, right?
yeah,
You scan
exactly.
to get their menu, but I would never
Yeah.
know how to do that.
Yeah, so those are just a couple of steps. There's like if you
Okay.
use Canva as an example, you can actually generate a QR code using Canva,
I
and
do.
you can have a nice design from it as well. And then you kind of pick, when someone scans the QR code, where they go. Janice and Samantha, those would be two areas that I would see as opportunities for both of you as well to be able to use, especially Janice, for you, like to be there for anyone who comes and purchases. There will be an opportunity where you have for someone to scan the QR code to join. Samantha, I think for you, same. Just having even just some signage that would be in each of the locations for people to be able to scan and join. There'd be opportunities there. So like those are just, they sound simple, but in many cases, some of the simple things are the things that we kind of disregard, and we work on things that are a bit more complicated. So there's simple things. Well, we always say, like, there's quick wins that you can get, and those are just a couple that you can use to kind of build
Janice,
on.
you were
Sheldon?
on mute there. Janice, did you want to jump in and ask a question or anything on that?
I did. Sorry. I did. When we first started the store, we used to ask people, we have a guest book, and we used to ask people to put their emails, but we never used them because the people's writing is so terrible at times that they weren't necessarily legible. So I never thought about the idea that we could have a QR code. And the only way we really get subscribers is through our website. I haven't figured out how to connect that through a post on social media yet. So and we only have about, I don't know, maybe 80 subscribers at the moment,
Yeah.
which isn't a very big base, really.
I wouldn't worry about the size of the subscribers. It's, if that's 80 people who come in and buy every week, that's the opportunity, right? So it's when I look at email, there's a couple of things depending on the nature of your business. So, Janice, a business like yours, it would be, how do I get a repeat customer, right? So it's not the acquisition of new customers, like that's going to be a separate strategy. But how do I get those 80 people who already know, like, and trust you? How do I get them to come back every week? So what kind of an impact on your business would that have if you could get 20 of them to come back, or 40 of them to come back, or all 80 to come back every week?
I just remember something you said in a session I attended once, Sheldon. If you have one subscriber, you put your newsletter out.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
And
always
because you don't,
resonated with me.
because just because it's the one subscriber, you don't know who that subscriber forwards that email to. They could email that to 10 people who are not subscribed to you, but still in some manner is given, it's your brand then that's increasing. And so it's people getting to know who you are. And that one subscriber could be someone who's an influencer for you as well, or a brand ambassador for you. So, yes, Sharon.
I got a question about this newsletter I'm sending out now. And I said, what perfect timing. I got this newsletter ready to go, perfect. And in my mind, I'm saying I shouldn't send it this week because it's Black Friday and all this. Maybe it's too early to send a Christmas wish. But it's if I wait till the beginning of December, I'm thinking people are going to have, their finances and their budgets put in other areas. So should I send it now? It's ready to go. And the other thing was, should I have a Black Friday contest? Because that's the two. And you know what? You addressed them right at the beginning, but that's the two things I thought I'd say. Something like for first, I don't know, 10 people to register for a session or series. I'm going to draw, make a draw for gift certificates or something like that. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think there's, there's always a good time to send an email. What's there, what you'll get is you'll get people who are interested, and depending on the platform that you have, we use MailChimp for some of our clients, and what will happen is that it'll actually give you an opportunity to resend it to people who didn't open it. So if I send an email today, I typically would wait for about 36 to 48 hours, and then we'll send it back out to the people who didn't open it. So they might get it the second time, but it's at a different stage of their inbox. Maybe when we sent it, it just wasn't the right time for them to open it. So there's different, so you can definitely send it out. And then you can also use the same email again and just readjust the subject line, and you can even just readjust some of the copy, and you can send it again in next week or the week after. I think one of the things that happens when it happens on social media quite a bit, and it happens in email, is that we tend to think that because we sent something the first time, that's the only time that we should send it. But in many cases, there's a reason why you hear the same radio ad, over and over again. You don't just hear a radio ad one time and you make a decision. It's a bit repeating, it's a bit repetition over and over again. Social media is no different. Email is no different. So sometimes what you could do is you can even use a strategy where what you send in your, say, your news and your upcoming newsletter, you can have the new piece, but then you can also use the old piece that you sent the last time for anyone who may be a new subscriber that didn't see it, or maybe it's someone, again, and it was the wrong timing. So you can just kind of take that old content that you sent in your, say, last month, if it's still applicable, and then you can send that back out again. Right. And if someone doesn't want to click on it, they're not going to click on it, but it's still there again for the, say, the number of people that you have who already know, like, and trust you.
So the contest part of it, do you think that's a good thing to do? Not a contest, but like a giveaway or, a Christmas, I don't know what I'm going to call it. And then probably next week or maybe the middle of the following week, I could send an email with the winners.
You could, or
Yes.
you could even stretch it out, right? So you could have, you could even just have you could do it in a series of emails where you could have like an announcement of like, this is a contest that we're going to have, and maybe you do the winner is on, say, December 15th. So then basically over the course of, say, the next 3.5 weeks, which is crazy, I can't believe it's that close, but over the course of the next 3.5 weeks, then maybe every week you're able to just to send a little reminder for people to make sure that they get their name in, or to forward it to friends and family. So you can kind of begin to build that list up. So like, instead of having just like that one email that goes out and then drawing it from there, you kind of stretch it over a period of, like, say, it could be a month, right? So you put in like a regular contest, you're going to have the contest, say, in a month from now, and then every week you probably just send out like just a reminder email for people to subscribe. It happens quite a bit. Same thing if you're going to attend like an event or a conference, typically they will send out like an early bird opportunity, and then they will kind of send out like, early bird is over, or last chance to get your early bird ticket. And then you move into regular registration, and then you move into like last minute registration, and then you're into the day of. So those are several emails that can be sent. So you can kind of have the same approach with an
So
email.
it's not too early.
No, not at all. Like,
Not too early to say Merry Christmas.
No, I think you're good there. And then you can have a couple of more emails, right? It's typically, if you begin to think about your email marketing, same as if you were to build like a social media calendar and how you're going to have social posts go out over the course of a month, you can do the same. You can do the very same with email.
You just made her day. She's beaming.
Yeah.
Sheldon, I ran into something recently on an email and I'm curious to think about your thoughts. I signed up for an email list of someone that I respect and kind of similar work to myself. So it's really cool. However, I haven't seen this before. Maybe just because I'm not Murray, I don't sign up for 100 newsletters, but it starts a story, like what I would call an article, right? Like it starts saying something, and then it says read more, and it takes them to their website.
Yes. Yeah.
So I see the advantage of that from their perspective, but I can tell you what it does for me is I never read more because I'm not there, right? If I was taking time to read the email, I'm going to read the whole article and go, but to click and go out, I know probably why they're doing it, but I don't always go there. If I happen to have time, I might, but chances are I don't. What are your thoughts on that kind of thing?
Yeah, so there's a couple of options there. It depends on the kind of email that you're sending. But like, one of the reasons why you would do that, as an example, would be you could do like a remarketing campaign. So the people who came and read that specific article and went to your website, because there's tracking pixels on your site, you could remarket back to that audience, and remarket to them like through an ad campaign,
Gotcha.
whether it's through Google or whether it's through Facebook. It really depends. Like if it's something that's offer based, I can understand like sending someone to the website to complete the transaction because you can't complete it through email. So, but if it's an article, it's, maybe it's just going there to complete, just to get people to read it again, and it's more website traffic for them, and maybe they forward it to a friend, maybe they share it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is because I do the same. Like my once a month newsletter, what I would call my newsletter, usually has first off all my upcoming events register now. So that's my call to action on the email. And then I put some kind of article. Like it's basically a blog post that I do have it as a blog post on my website for other people to find. But the version of it in the newsletter it's the full article. I wouldn't think of driving them then to my blog to finish reading it because I know from like I say, as a user, I'm not going to click out and read the rest of it, but I'll take another 30 seconds to finish reading it in front of me. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. No, I know exactly what you mean, but it depends on like the people who are on the other side. Like sometimes you want to look at the metrics to get an idea of like, does this article resonate with someone? So if you read the article in its entirety in the email, someone who's on the other side trying to analyze the results, like I don't know if you read it. Whereas
Right.
like if it's more of a teaser with read more, then I know that article to a certain degree, depending on the size of the list, that article may have resonated with some people. So then that's great. This kind of article, we would send these kind of articles back out again, or that one didn't work, and then we're gonna, we'll still try something different. So it really depends on like more of a preference.
Right. Okay. Lots to think about there. I'm sure Maria can appreciate that on the other side of it with the website side. Why people would be doing that. So frequency, I know that's always a question a lot of people have. Or Maria, you go first.
So, hi. I just was thinking, have you ever tried using Stripe payment links inside of newsletters?
Yes, yeah, you can. Yeah, they'll take you. Typically they'll take you back to the site. To
Oh, sorry. I mean the it just opens up into the Stripe payment link, just opens up into the actual checkout page, so that it's almost like you don't even go into the website.
Yeah, you can use them there. But typically you would already have provided, say, like all the information, product description, images, and those things would already included. So then when I'm ready to go purchase, I'm ready to go make the purchase. Whether that, again, whether that's retail based or an event or a product or a service, on that side. So yeah, there's all kinds of like different things that you can test. Yeah, so I wouldn't see why not.
Thanks.
Thank you. So frequency, is there any cut and dried on that, or is it really all dependent on your audience and what you're doing?
Really depends on your audience, and how much time you have to devote to it. So in some cases, I know like just there's two things, like people either that I coach or people that we work with as clients. Once a month is a struggle to be able to prepare a newsletter to go out once a month. For other people, once a week is something that's really achievable. So it really depends. Anything that's like retail driven, typically the frequency is typically quite high. I know like even for myself, like whether it's a Best Buy or a Canadian Tire or whatever, like you get emails from them every single day, right? So someone's on the other side of that preparing those emails to go out with all the updated information and sales and prices on that side. But some people tire of it, or it seems like it's spam, but at the end of the day it works. Right, so like maybe today is not the day that I'm buying whatever it is that I want to get from Canadian Tire, but I know that at some point what I'm looking for is probably going to come across in a deal. And then when that happens, and that's when I'll go and make my purchase. From there, if it's, I guess, like when it comes to a newsletter, maybe Carol, like you're sending to a certain audience, monthly could be a good start. But when I think about monthly, it's only 12 times a year. right?
Takes me a
And
lot to do it though, but I put a lot of effort into my monthly newsletter, but I enjoy doing it, but it is a lot of effort.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's just it, right? Like it's one of those things where there's a couple of ways to approach doing, say, like a monthly email. Like one, are you sometimes you can approach it like the way you would do like a social media calendar. So like instead of having, say, a monthly newsletter that would have maybe several articles or several pieces into it, could you break that up into 4 weekly ones? So that way you're kind of not giving away everything in the one newsletter, but it also allows you to have more frequency in terms of seeing what pieces of, say, breaking down your newsletter into smaller parts to go out to either the same audience or even to break it down into like a different audience. So maybe as an example, like maybe you have a training that's only available to people in Newfoundland. And if that's the case, then you can exclude people who are not in Newfoundland because that email really is not relevant to them.
Mhm. Yeah, I do use segments or tags, I think. I have like my entrepreneur community. So if I was going to send out that, entrepreneur coffee breaks coming up, it goes just to those folks because I know that they're already in that field or interested in that. And then I have my, a couple other communities as well that I kind of break that up.
Yeah, and
I like
segments are
that idea.
great. Yeah, segments are fantastic. It's because you kind of know, like, you can have like a VIP kind of an option as well, or you kind of see people who open and read your email on a regular basis, so they kind of maybe fit into like a different bucket. Maybe that's people, again, it really depends on the business. Like typically it's going to be, if it's someone who's like a repeat buyer or like a loyal customer, then there's a frequency of what you send them. If it's someone who's just making like a one-off purchase, then those emails will be a little bit different because they're more offer based, and your focus is to really get them to take you up on that offer as quickly as possible.
Okay.
I'll add something else too about the MailChimp and all the marketing stuff and Canva and all that. I mean, it's amazing. I've been in business since 2015. And I mean, I hated this stuff. Like, I don't want to get on there. I don't want to be sending out emails. I don't want to be creating nothing. I just want to teach meditation. But I got to say, like, now that I'm into it and I'm doing it, I love it. I look forward to, because I feel like I'm reaching my audience now in a different way. Like, I'm putting in the video, a little clip of a meditation, or I'm sending the article, like Carol just said. So it's like I'm engaged in a different platform. I got to say that, like, from yourself, Sheldon, and Carol, and all the support from everybody else. I mean, getting me to this place, I'm kudos. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh, it's email is a very interesting platform that many people just completely disregard in today's space. And I had this conversation with like a few people about when it comes to email and how important it is. And it's one of those places where, ways that you can use your email list as an example is that you can, if you want, you could use your email list as being kind of like, again, like getting on that VIP list, and you only send this content through email. So it's not available. You're not going to post this on social. You're not going to post this anywhere else. It's only available if you're a subscriber. So in terms of like how you can attract people back to growing your list, like that is an opportunity, is to be able to use that. Now, some people say like, well, there's the fear of if it's only people that are in my email and I want to post it to social, then I'm missing an opportunity for people that are on social. But to go back earlier in part of the discussion is that like each of the platforms are not yours. So by making things exclusive and exclusive content that's only available through your newsletter, that can be really valuable over time.
So, Sheldon, should I not click share to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter? Should I not do that?
Well, it depends on the content, but if it's content that you're creating that's specifically for your audience who already know, like, and trust you, just keep it to email. You can take the content, like maybe a piece of it, and share almost like a teaser piece to your social platforms to get people to come back to sign up for the newsletter, because that's where they can read everything. Kind of like the opposite, Carol, of what you had mentioned in the newsletter, where there's the article in there and people are clicking to go out to the website. You can actually use social as like an opposite, whereas like, here's some of the content that's going to be coming up in the newsletter, and exclusively on the newsletter. You can't get this content anywhere else, and so if you want to see it, you have to subscribe.
Cool. I've seen too, Sheldon, organizations that I'm thinking for what Maria was talking about, that if you sign up for your newsletter, you get to download this white paper or you get to download, this piece of research. Just gonna say quick hello to Carmelita, who's just popped in. We're
guys.
just chatting away, Carm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would see that potentially as a good opportunity for Maria of if she wants to give it a particular resource or something. Would that work? Oh, there you go. Maria knows all about it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a good, and again, it's something that would be exclusive, something that you've created, and that's and the only way that you can get it. And like most things, there's some people like we'll just put it out there for free anyway and let everybody see it. But if the goal is that you're trying to build your list and build your audience and your thought leadership, then keep it exclusive to you, right? There's a lot of people who build businesses through email, like a really good email list. As well, people that probably not even on social media as much, and they're using their website as being the driver to get people to come to them through whether it's through search or whether it's through other platforms, and then they use their website as the vehicle to get people into their newsletter, and then the content that they create, it's only available through the newsletter. So I think it also depends on like the resources that you have. So I know like some of the people that I've coached in the past, to create social content on a regular basis, it's just it's very time intensive. You have to be consistent. You can't stop, and so therefore like it's not really an option. It wasn't an option for them. So kind of moved into a different direction where, well, if that's not an option, let's just focus on spending say an hour. You can either spend an hour and create like a social post that go out, or you can spend an hour and maybe work on a blog post or to optimize your site from a search engine perspective to attract more traffic from anyone, and then get those people to opt into your newsletter. And then your newsletter can be maybe that one or two social posts that you want that you can create. So it just allows you to be able to manage your time more effectively to maybe work on different parts of your business, but you're still able to get a message out to everyone, but just more on the time that you have versus trying to be getting social content out on a regular basis and then having to pay attention to comments and engaging in comments, where the email can be a little bit more, you can use your time more effectively.
Okay. Is there a difference marketing to business for other over consumers? I'm thinking of Samantha. Samantha, you mentioned because your target is businesses, obviously, you're in the business commercial division. Would there be something different that she should think of putting in that targeting to businesses versus the consumer who, wants to shop at the craft shop or take yoga or that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some businesses, as an example, that, when it comes to social, the content that you would share, maybe it's sensitive content, not something that you want to be clicking and liking for other people, as an example. So, some of that content sometimes you want to be able to share through email. When it comes to, say, like on the commercial lending perspective, opportunities there that could exist would be there's a couple of different approaches. One is to take existing customers or people who have say borrowed in the past, and just to provide updates in terms of where they are, and you can do that again on a pretty regular basis. The second would be kind of like something that would go out to everyone, and maybe there are new rules, regulations, and laws that are coming out, and these are things that, yes, they can be shared on social media, but it doesn't mean that they're going to, just because it's shared on social media, it doesn't mean that it's going to reach everyone who likes you on social media. So there's a big difference there, which is another advantage of email over social. So that way you can kind of take your, existing customer base as an example. And if there is a new rule and regulation that's in place, is to making sure that people are informed. The good thing with email is that once it's sent, if you have the right programs, you can see who opened it, who didn't open it. So people who didn't open it, you can send it back to them again. In some cases, some people feel more comfortable with responding to an email on maybe, again, rules and regulations or something that's more sensitive than having like an open discussion that will be out and say out on whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter.
Good point there.
Yeah, one thing that's quite often overlooked are certain segments, as an example, like when I begin to look, when we talk about social and the difference of social, is that in some cases, let's just say whether it might be around like health and fitness or borrowing, or in certain areas, it might not be, social media typically might not be a place where you want to put your hand up, with a like or a comment, because it's, maybe it's something that you're trying, a problem that you're trying to solve on your own, or something that you're trying to do. So you don't really kind of put your hand up on social, whereas, you kind of still go and do research online, reading material that's on different websites, or something that comes out through email, or doing inquiries through email. So those are always things to consider as well, and it depends on the industry. So as an example, even like say with our industry as an agency, or even as a consultant, if I'm putting out content on a regular basis about like, things not to do or things to try or want to learn this, in many cases, I don't think there's not a lot of people are going to put their hand up and say, yeah, I don't know how to do that, or yeah, I'm completely missing this one up, right? Like those are kind of more private conversations that typically happen. So, and again, so what I would want to do is to put content out for people to come back and read on their own terms. Send send some of this content through email again, so people can kind of self-serve and select. And I think this is one of the things that we're seeing across some of the different social channels. Twitter probably being one of the places where it happens the most, is where we've moved away from what used to be like the information age to the opinion age. So as much as maybe good intent that you might have when you put out a social post, more often than not, depending on the platform, you'll find someone who completely disagrees with you. And again, it's just a disagreement. It's just a disagreement, or maybe a variance in opinion, right? So it just, in terms of like, so it really rethinks in terms of things that maybe you put on social, that you put out there.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. So here's another question. I'm again kind of thinking of Samantha, because you indicated you've got client base, you're looking at like your particular thing. And there's the laws of sending emails, right? That you can't just send, you need to get permissions and all those kinds of things. So can I send, if the 6 of you on my screen didn't subscribe to my email, but we've made a connection, I would consider you now part of my network. Could I send you an email just saying sign up for my newsletter, or is that going to be considered spamming? Like, can Samantha go to her commercial database and say, hey, sign up? Or is that considered a, spam thing?
So hers, the commercial piece would be if you're doing business with someone. Actually, I've got a couple of slides that I can kind of bring up. I'll just bring up so you can just kind of see the slides here. So
My case is definitely a little different than most, where what we collect the information for is for day-to-day finances. So
yeah,
there is certain rules about that, but
yeah. So this is kind of like the basis of a lot of the CAN spam rules in terms of what you can do and what you can't do. So a couple of rules here again. Some things that are different is that if you're a customer, like if I've bought something from you or you're a customer, then that changes in terms of what you can do. The biggest thing is you need to give people an option to always be able to opt out as well. Like that's one of the biggest things when you're picking a tool, is that you need to, when you're asking someone to subscribe, or even when you send out your newsletter or your email offer, is that you need to give someone the ability to be able to opt out. That's one of the biggest things.
Sheldon, I don't like it when they do, though.
No, most people don't. Most people don't like it when they do, but
You unsubscribe me, Sheldon? No, I'm kidding.
but the key thing too to remember is that you want, as much as some people are not subscribing, it doesn't mean that they're kind of like gone forever. Like maybe they'll come back at some point in time. Right. So, and the other part too is like, someone who is unsubscribing, like maybe maybe it's not a good fit for them to be a client of yours or a customer of yours. Right. So there's 2 ways to approach that. One is to try to get more people to come in. So that way, you're not really concerned as much with losing the 1 or 2. And then the other part would be just to, as you put out more content, some people will come back. Like this is, with retail, as an example, there might be certain times of the year where, I don't want to subscribe to retail stores, but this might be the time of year that I do. So maybe I unsubscribe from, January until November. But then I know there's probably certain areas that certain stores that my kids like, that I like, my wife likes, and everything. So then I begin to I'll subscribe again for that short period of time, because that's when I want to see everything that's coming in and the deals that they have. And then I'm probably going to so it might be just a pattern as well. And some people might move on, some people could move locations. Like there's a number of factors of why someone could unsubscribe. And it's the same thing as like from a social media perspective, like some people might unfollow you for a reason. So it's, the thing is, I guess if you have a thick skin, you get less and less concerned about it.
As Maria's pointed out in chat, they're sharing, they could be changing their email address.
Yep.
Which email address they're using to subscribe.
It could be, they could change jobs if it's, depending on what job they're in as well.
Yeah.
Like that's, right, people can change jobs, or, so they no longer have an email address at that company anymore. So.
Okay. Any other questions? I just keep triggering things in my head. I keep coming up with stuff. Anybody else have any questions though? Okay. Anything else you think we're missing, Sheldon? What else would you add, or what questions do you have for us?
Well, I guess I'll give you like maybe just like the 5 types of email campaigns. I'll just share my screen again and just kind of
Okay.
go through them quickly. But typically this would be email, like this would be the kinds of emails you would probably want to send if you're not currently, or if you're thinking about a newsletter. So one would be like the welcome email. So as soon as somebody becomes a subscriber, depending on the tool that you pick, you should send them back like a welcome email. And that welcome email can really set you up. It kind of sets the expectation, and that just might be like, hey Sharon, thanks for subscribing to my email. I just want to let you know that I typically send my emails out every second Tuesday of the month. So just, again, you're kind of setting the expectation of like, this is how frequently I send the email. Here's typically what's going to be in that email. And then the one thing that I like to do is that if someone is coming through email, is that it is an opportunity for someone to do to maybe join you through social as well, and just say, hey, not all the content that I send through email, everything that I have goes through email. You can also find me here on these platforms. And then what you can do to even kind of create a discussion, you might even leave an open-ended question on the end, is like, what is your favorite social media platform? And it's just, again, like you're same as you're trying, and in many cases when you do social media, you're trying to get someone to, how do you kind of create that engagement? There's no reason that you can't do the same through email, but that conversation becomes a one-to-one conversation as opposed to like social where it's one-to-many. So having a welcome email is super important.
I like that.
Other things you could do with the welcome email is like, again, it really depends on the business. So, it might be, you might just ask someone the open-ended question is, like, what made you sign up to my newsletter? What's a problem that you're currently trying to solve? And maybe I can help you with that. So again, it really depends on the business, but like those are things that allows people to, you can address something really quickly depending on the problem that you solve for people. The next would be
Sheldon. Oh,
yep.
The thing is, though, can all these types of emails, can they all of that be encompassed in one newsletter? Like I'm looking at that saying, I can't touch all that on my newsletter. Should I not be doing that? Is it too much information, or?
So these are the types of email campaigns. This is not necessarily like newsletter as such. These are kind of like the types of emails that you would typically send to your subscriber base. So it's a little bit separate. So, but the newsletter itself would be the type, say one type of email campaign, which is kind of like what we've kind of talked here for the majority of the day, where again, you're kind of sending out that once a month or maybe bi-weekly to let people know about a recent blog post, or maybe it's a milestone, or maybe it's a new certification or something, like just an update. So there's that newsletter component. Then the other one that we see a lot more from retail than maybe some other places are the promotional emails. So again, this comes from like your Canadian Tires, your Best Buys, your local coffee shops. In terms of like, here's the offer that we have for this week. And so that's the promotional email. The one email that probably gets overlooked quite a bit is the transactional email. So in many cases, like in today's space, like if you have a physical location and you're selling physical products, if someone comes and buys from you, one of the things that I would ask would be like, would you like to have your receipt emailed to you? And that would be a place, again, like people you would build up your email list. People would be able to easily find the receipts for any of the transactions that you have. I don't know about you, but my pockets are typically filled with like paper receipts that I look in. I'm like, oh, there's when I pull up my winter jacket, it's like, oh, here's my receipt from last year from whatever I bought, right? So, or maybe there's one there. I think one day I remember I found a ticket from like a plane ticket from like 2007 that was in an old jacket that I haven't pulled out for a while. Right. So like these are all things that are there, but if you have it through email, again, that's the transactional email, and you can have, like, you see people kind of give like the surveys that can be in the transactional emails. It's another opportunity to direct people back to social media channels. So that transactional email can be quite important when someone buys something for you. And then there's the educational emails, which can be either something that's newsletter related, or maybe it might be like a new offering that you have. Like, so the educational might be like a one-off where you're talking about like, here's, say, a new training that I'm offering, or here's a government regulation that came out, and like, this is something that you should be aware of. And these things happen on a regular basis. So this is typically the 5 types of emails that you can incorporate into your business.
Excellent. Sheldon, I'm just going to interrupt for just a quick second, give Mel an opportunity to say hello. She was just able to pop in. So Melinda, I don't know if you want to wave and say hi to everyone. If you want to unmute, just say quick, hey.
Hi, sorry it took me a moment to find the mute button.
That's okay.
Sorry I'm late. I was at another meeting. It's nice to see you again, Sheldon.
Oh, nice to see you again.
You want to tell folks who you are, Melinda, and where you are?
Sorry?
Do you want to
Who I
tell folks
am
who you are and where you are?
My name is Mel Simmons, and I'm from Charlottetown here in Terra Nova Park, and it's snowing. I don't like the snow, but here we are. And I have 2 businesses. I own Keto Noof, which is a food processor for gluten-free, sugar-free, low-sodium products. And I also own an entertainment company. And I've met Sheldon before when I was the marketing manager with Islander RV.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome. And Sheldon, you know Carm as well, and I think everyone else probably knows Carm, but I didn't give her a chance to say who she is either.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I was a bit late. I had to visit my grandkids because I was away for the last 4 days. So that's top priority for me.
Of course.
So I own Karma Yoga with Carmelita Morgan, and been operating now for 13 years, loving what I'm doing and getting some wonderful feedback really lately, just amazing feedback from people on how I'm helping them, which is so wonderful. And I had a call this morning from this elderly lady in Deer Lake, and she left a message that her daughter is in Costa Rica. Now she just got married, and that she's coming home in January for 2 weeks. So she wanted to set her up with me for yoga while she's here.
Wow,
so I thought that was pretty
fantastic.
good. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
That's fantastic.
So that's probably a good time of year too, Sheldon. Like Carm could offer a gift certificate, right? If that lady wanted to purchase a gift certificate for those services or something like that, that would be a good email marketing, I would think.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's an opportunity there before the holidays to send out gift cards, gift cards or whatever that you have. And then like depending on the nature of the business, like I know we have a client of ours, we spoke with this earlier this morning, was a lot of people want to make lifestyle changes when January hits for many reasons. And so that will be an opportunity there. And so you can kind of do that in multiple ways. So one, you could, if there is an offer based that you have, you could do that. The other one is you can provide that educational piece. And some of those things just might be sending out, re-engaging people and letting them know, like, what are the benefits of what you offer? you know, and just there's so many different ways to use email in terms of how you do it. I think what happens is we kind of see email and social separately, where I kind of look through them as a lens where they can kind of use the same. It's just that the audience that you're sending it to, it's not a public audience, it's a private audience. And so I think some of the things that you would typically maybe put out on social, that you can, you know, repeat a lot of that content to go out through email. Again, because when it comes to social, points that were made earlier in the conversation, that you don't own the platform. One of the biggest things as well is that depending on the time of year, this time of year especially, because everybody's, especially in retail, everyone is increasing the number of posts and the number of things that they're putting out on social, which means that because of that, with more things going out, the stuff that most people share organically or publicly don't get seen by as many people, and more people are paying for ads, so that's taking up a lot of the real estate that's happening in, say, the social feeds. So email is one of those ways to overcome that. And a lot of people are sending more emails, so it's good to be able to have a nice mix of both. Yes, Sharon.
Thank you for answering all my questions. I got another one now. So like I'm just wondering for the marketing and for the platform, you know, in general, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Like I'm stuck on that again this year. Like I always say Merry Christmas, but then, you know, I said I'll post like many, like, you know, I'll post several different ones. But like what's the basic one, Sheldon, that I can use in my newsletter?
I don't really have an answer for that one. I think it varies by people. I think I know, I guess, like personally, I like to kind of keep things like Happy Holidays. That's probably the more, I guess, like generic one that we have, because there's so many different um, you know, areas to kind of think about and sensitivities. So I often I try to keep it as simple as possible.
Excellent. Question in chat, Sheldon, around customizing templates. Any thoughts on which tools might be better?
Every platform, I think depending on platform that you pick, many of them actually have a lot of their own templates that they've already pre-built, and you can customize for your own. I would probably start with, if you're just starting, I would start with one of those. And then I think as time goes on, you can kind of add to your own. But most programs today, it's, you know, whether it's Canva, MailChimp, ConvertKit, MailerLite, pretty much most platforms, one of the things that they want to do is they want to make the user experience as easy as possible. So they're trying to create templates that are easily adjustable, where you're you know, inserting your logo here, changing your maybe changing your colors here, maybe changing your font. And it always goes back, there's always a big question, where is it the message, or is it the medium in terms of where things are being used? So, you know, again, you can have some stuff that looks really nice, but then when you read the content, it's pretty thin. So it looks nice, but the content's not, it's pretty thin. Other cases it might not look as nice, but the message and the content that's in there is probably super relevant and important. So unfortunately, there's no direct answer. It's more, again, like what works for you. Like many things in digital, it's test, rinse, and repeat in many cases.
Yeah, I use MailChimp, and I noticed that I can still customize to a certain extent on the free platform, because I have the free version. I don't have 2000 yet. But it does look like if you pay, you can even do more with customization. So,
and it depends. Like you can, again, it's, you know, is it the message and the content that you know, what's more, you know, where do you want to spend more of your time from there? So.
And maybe if you pay, Carol, we'll get something thrown in, like a Sheldon Payne will go with the subscription.
Yeah.
that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Question I have, and I'm so not facilitating this one today, because I'm so much a participant in this one today as well. Often with, like, I use MailChimp, as I mentioned, so I can do a social media post when my newsletter goes out, which essentially is the link to the newsletter.
Yep.
Yay, nay? What are your thoughts?
I'm usually nay. And the reason why I'm usually nay is because, well, why should I sign up for your newsletter if you're going to post it on social media, the content of your newsletter? I know that's a big, like, but that's just the rationale that I always have. It's like the newsletter is something I would typically want to be able to have exclusive for people who's taking the time and energy to sign up. So let's just keep it exclusive to them.
I was kind of thinking that recently or something along those lines recently. So interesting to hear you say that. I'm totally rethinking social media. Not that I'm going to get off of it, but I'm totally rethinking this whole that I don't own it in the platform. Marie's brought up some really, some really good points to think about today about how do you manage your audience and what do you own and stuff. So I'm learning as much as everyone else here this morning.
Like, how about YouTube, Marielle?
I am pretty clueless on YouTube. I'm pretty clueless on video. I'm much more of a written word kind of person. So and that's one of the reasons why I'm such a newsletter junkie is if you give me the option of reading a newsletter or a blog post versus a video, I'm probably not going to ever see the video.
But that's a good point too, right? Because your audience is going to learn in different ways and respond in different ways too. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running something, I mean, from my point of view as a consumer, I want written word, but your audience, different audience members are going to want different kinds. But I would, and I'm sure Sheldon is, knows this, has said this as well, but you don't want to overload yourself with too many different channels because then you're just going to spend all your time trying to manage them. Like if you have one video and one written, then is that, if you're feeling like that's a lot, then don't add any others. And newsletters are way better than social media, in my opinion.
I agree. Like it really comes down to how much time you have to dedicate to, I think when we look at, say, where we were 10 years ago, it kind of reminds me of the way like TV used to be. Like at one point there was, I think for many of us, there was like CBC, and then like we were introduced to like cable, and we were able to have like ABC, CBS, and NBC. And then I haven't had cable for 12 years, but like at some point there's like 50 channels and there's nothing on. And social is kind of moving into the same space where every year there's new platforms that come in and they have different like kind of mediums. So some are text based, which are more Twitter. Some are photo based, which is probably more Instagram, Facebook. And then you've got video and like TikTok and YouTube. So it becomes more and more work. Like it's more than a full-time job just to stay on top of it. That's not to make progress. That's just to stay on top of it. So I know like for us, like we like to be able to find ways to like, like your website is still one of the biggest assets that you can own. And putting, an hour a day extra into your website versus trying to create an additional social media post. There's so many things that you can do, and email is one of those ways that you can begin to say spend a little bit of time but have a big impact. Your website is another. So on the website perspective, if you're, how often do you update your website? How often do you change the content? How do you know if the content that you currently have on your website is working? Like, is the phone ringing? Are people emailing you? Is it not? It's like, so these are places where I typically encourage people to spend time because you own it. And, it's one of those channels that people can come and visit. I always say your website is the salesperson for your team that never gets sick, never goes on vacation, and is always there, like at least until your hosting goes down. Right. So like most things, like you should invest in it and not be, and a website is also like a home. Like, most people, you don't just buy a house and say, okay, well, that's it. At some point, I'm like, oh, I'm tired of the paint color on the living room. I have to change it. So same thing happens with the website, or this bathroom's too small now, or the kids are gone. So I'm going to turn the room into something different. There's all kinds of things, and your website can be treated exactly the same. And there are things that like you can put in a little bit of time and have a big impact. Where social, you need to be consistent. and you might not necessarily be making progress or from there. So anyway, that's just the view that I have when it comes to doing, say, digital marketing, with working on your website and your email and what's working and what's not working, then spending a lot of time creating content on a regular basis, and maybe that content is not striking the people or not reaching the people that you wanted to reach.
Yeah, I think I shared with you, Sheldon, once before that I was given some direction on how to optimize, improve my SEO rankings, my search engine optimization rankings. And I knew it started to work when I started getting all these spam emails.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. People finding you, right? Like they're finding you pretty
They were
quickly.
like, oh my God, you wanted to sell me a digital marketing list. You want to sell me a website. You want to sell me like, well, you obviously found me now. So I
Yeah,
thought that was pretty cool.
And SEO is one of those things, like it's every year there's always a certain segment was like, oh, it's no longer working, but Google is still a very popular search engine. YouTube is the second most popular search engine. So when people want to go solve problems, or they're looking for problems to solve, they usually go and search it out on their own and self-serve. So it's making sure that if you can cover that off first, it's great. And then adding in different options, like whether it's social or email or other channels, is a nice bonus. But take care of your home first. Like take care of that first and make sure that's as good as it can be.
Interesting. Murray said the same thing at your home. The same thoughts. That's awesome. Looking at the time, ladies, and any other questions for our guests today?
I'd just like to mention Carol and I had a little discussion last week about a website, and did I need a website? Remember that, Carol?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do a lot of email and social media. That's probably all I do, but I seem to be getting the traffic there. But then again, the website, it's the time and everything, changing that, adding to that. But now I see you're saying how important it is. So it's something I need to look at. Yeah.
Yeah, a website is, I think it's so important, because if people, as an example, it builds like even just a level of trust, and professionalism. So like anyone can create a social media account, quite easily. Anyone can, even have like, a fake business, for example. But once you have your website, it allows people to find you, who are looking for the problem that you solve. And, so they can kind of self-serve 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from anywhere in the world, as long as they have an internet connection. They can find you, and then they can read up on you. And then when they are ready to make a decision, because the website's there, they can, know where you are, place of business, what you offer, prices, inquire, without, the hope of, again, all the work that you have to do to go out and try to attract people to you, whether it's through social or through other means. And sometimes the people who you try to find or get on social are not necessarily your customer. So you're sending out content to someone who may never buy from you ever.
Good point. Any other questions or comments? Awesome. Sheldon, I really, really want to thank you for your time this morning, to come in. And I don't know if you anticipated you'd be talking that long when we first started chatting, but I really appreciate you taking the format too of just making this a really nice flowing conversation. I think everyone that's attended has learned a lot and has had an opportunity to ask very specific questions, which is great, because often we don't always have the time for everyone to be able to ask those questions as they went through. So thank you very, very much.
I know. Thank you. I love it. Like this is, I love doing these. They're so much fun.
Awesome. So our next coffee break is December 13th. And our sponsor for that one is going to be CBDC Nortip. I'm going to throw in the link. This is another issue I have with Teams, but I'm going to throw the link in chat because their links can't be shortened. If you wish to register, feel free. It will be out in my next newsletter as well. And our topic for next month is going to be home-based businesses and side hustlers. So we've got quite a few folks lined up that are going to come on and talk about their experiences. I know for me as a home-based business, there's definitely pros and cons. And, we thought we would reach out to some others and see what their experiences are as well. So that's coming up in December. And I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank this community. I want to thank Sheldon. I want to thank your engagement here this morning. And really, really appreciate that you hang out with me every month. I'll open up one last chance. Anything else anyone wants to say? Do you have any Christmas specials or anything happening? Sharon, I know you mentioned you got a new series opening. Janice, I'm not sure what your Christmas season's looking like, but if anyone wants to promote, please do.
I just wanted to say thanks to Sheldon because I had that newsletter perked and I kept looking at it every day. And you know what we're like, we change words and we add stuff. So thanks for your input. My newsletter will go. Thanks a million.
Hope it works out.
Yes, Melinda, it's being recorded right now, so I'll be posting that link out earlier as well, or later, I mean, that you can check and see what you missed. Janice, are you folks open Christmas season beyond the weekend, or what are you doing for Christmas?
Well, we're doing a couple of special events. This Saturday is Small Business Saturday, so we're going to be doing a few specials for that day, which I'll be posting on social media and probably sending an email out to our subscribers. And then on the weekend of the 3rd and 4th of December, to celebrate International Rug Cooking Day, we're going to be having an open house in the store. After that, we're open until Christmas Eve at 4 p.m. So there's lots of opportunities on the weekends in between there and on Christmas Eve. If you need something last minute, we'll be there. And thanks again, Sheldon. It was wonderful information, and I really do need to get my newsletter and my website looked after.
Newsletter first. I would take care of that one first.
Okay, thank you.
Another tip, because Sheldon and I are connected on LinkedIn, and one thing I really like what you do as one of those little quirky things, but on the 1st of the month or at the end of a month, you put out all the today is the day of rug hooking, the international thing, and it's a neat way, I think, to maybe generate a bit of conversation. And I guess I'm thinking now maybe I should be using maybe a couple of those in my newsletter options too.
Yeah, that's something that we started 2016, I think, just to kind of go through as we were kind of like finding because we have multiple clients in different spaces. So instead of trying to go and do research for them, I was like, well, let's just collect, what's happening pretty much every day of the year. And we just kind of keep on adding on like every year. So it's a great way to kind of find opportunities of things that might be relevant to your business. Not everything is, but there might be things that are relevant to your business and say, well, how can I use that? Or what's an opportunity here? So we just keep building on it every year. And some people send in requests and say, hey, like this is happening on this time, and we'll add it in. And we do get a lot of traffic pretty much in the 3rd week of every month. We'll get a lot of traffic for the next month for people who are planning their content for the month ahead.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, I'll say see you soon. Namolstis, abiento, and hopefully I'll see you in December. If I don't, have a happy holiday season, and we'll catch you again next time. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.